My mother told me I was like a month premature, and that while I was in the womb, my father kicked her in the stomach, and no one knew she was even pregnant. None of, like, the family members, because she had already just had a child. You know, my brother and I are only, 13 months apart or something like that. A little older than me, just a year. It's my post-traumatic stress. This is why I am right now, March 30th, 2021, sleeping in my car and have been living out of my vehicle for the past 6 months. During that time, I've had these ups and downs of trying to understand my childhood traumas and trying to overcome them. And everybody tries to push me to do things I'm not ready to do yet. So, this is true stuff. When I was young, I had gotten a fever when I was about 2 years old. And they had been vacationing in Mexico at the time. Smaller than that at the age of 2. In photos of me, which I had kept and I put in a scrapbook, and I wrote my honest opinion of my life in this scrapbook. But when my mother packed up my things 2 years ago, she destroyed all of my actual perception of my childhood growing up. And you'll almost died in Mexico, but she rushed me back to the States, and that's where I have this calcium deposit on my front tooth because of the high fever that I had. My life was in danger without even... I had essentially died many times growing up, or had that, brush with death. And my dad would beat us or get like cords or wire hangers, or using his hand. He had a very strong hand because he was a mechanic. My parents never had jobs, never, during any of the time that I was growing up. They had gotten by self-employment, by buying, through buying and selling used vehicles. At first, they were doing it illegally and not telling the government about what money that they were making. Then they got in trouble for it and had to legitimize it through a business. But my father is a pedophile. It's fact. It's factual. I lived through it. That I'm talking about, discussing, need to acknowledge what they have done to other people for them, me, to react in a way to want to call them out on their wrongdoings. I mean, just something's imbalanced here. That's why I'm living in my car. Fuck her over and keep her hush hush. Everybody, my ex-husband, his family, they try to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to keep my mouth shut because I've already tried to commit suicide time and time again, and that started when I was 12 years old, when I tried to OD on my mom's pain pills, because my mom has always taken something to try to detach from the fact that my dad was doing all kinds of weird stuff with my sister. Not even going to go into that. My sister was like, don't talk about my story. No, I'm talking about my story. And early age, my father whipping out boobs everywhere at the dinner table and sucking on them. I mean, that's not normal. That is not normal. Not normal. For him to beat us over all kinds of random stuff, and then he would get mad literally like once a month, and we would have to follow him around while he would spit on us, kick us, throw things at us, hit us with things. We had to beg him for forgiveness for things that we had no idea what was going on. And generally, it was because of the fact he was upset because, him and my sister's situation. He wasn't getting what he wanted from that at that time. But my father deals with some type of mental instability that, and no wonder everybody's like, oh my God, Leticia is so mentally unstable. And we're cool. My family's, no, therapy is healthy. I've been in therapy since I was 12 years old, since my first was 8 years old. I would fall asleep in these big t-shirts and my panties, and I developed early at 9. Age 9 is when I got my period, so I ended up developing breasts at a very early age, and they ended up being very large, and so I got a lot of sexual abuse at home. It was constantly, as I would walk past him, I would worry that he would violate me in some way, or harass me, or pinch at my genitals, or try to fondle my breasts, or something. So I had to disassociate, be like, no, Daddy loves me. This isn't, like this, and presents. Lots and lots of presents. And it wasn't any good presents. It was hand-me-down crap from yard sales. Or like, good for you, buddy. Good for you, Daddy. I do not stalk anyone. I don't need to. I don't need to search you on a computer or search you on my phone or do any of that. I feel the energy first. But the tables have turned. They turned many years ago when I started pushing back and I started saying and discussing openly with authorities, with everyone whomever would listen to what my family actually was, the types of people that they actually were. And I understand. You're going to try to help me during some aspects of my life. But you weren't there when I was developing psychologically and sexually in an appropriate way. Inappropriately. Even my own mother would come up and grab me and say, I made these. These are mine. Kiss on them. At first I thought, no, this is, normal women. It's okay for this and that. Sometimes she would be drunk or on her meds and she'd rub on my butt and kiss it because her body was not perfect anymore. And I understand the mentality of trying to live vicariously through someone else because my mother tried to do that for many years growing up and she didn't want to recognize it. And everybody's like, even my own disorders that I had or suffered through, the agoraphobia, my irrational fears, phobias that I had. I had klepticism for a short time, very short time. I was growing up, I had a bit about bouts of klepticism, but I always knew that I needed to do the right thing by that. I never wanted to have that weighing over my head, thinking like, oh God, I didn't give back what I'd taken. Like I knew I should have not done certain things. You're just crazy. No, what's crazy is what I see and what I call you out on. And that's why you call me that, because you're deflecting. That's what that's called in therapy. They deflect. So when I told people when I was 12 years old about the sexual abuse that was going on at home, and when I woke up with the charcoal being pumped and, they came in and the doctors talked to me and they asked me why I'd done it. And I said, my sister just ran away from home and she left me to deal with him. And I loved my sister so much. I did. I respected her. I looked up to her because she was the coolest woman to me, because she withstood this demon's corruption and still managed to walk through the fire. And what I thought unsinged, she's not unsinged. She knows it. She just is in denial of certain things. And we haven't spoken for many years and my mother and my sister had gathered around the table and I had walked into the room in this at Briar Lane in Beloit, and they were discussing how to kill my father so that they could collect some type of money from it. Not even lying. So I do a lot of praying because I went to Catholic school. I told the Catholic school people about what was going on. Did they do anything? My mother went to the priest at the Catholic school. She talked to him apparently, or so she says, but she is a narcissist and she has a bad habit of lying. Manipulating situations in order to make her look good, to make her look like a victim. She calls me out on having a victim's mentality, but doesn't recognize that she has always portrayed that within the actual dynamics of her life, the steps that she took that make her look like a sociopath. And I never wanted a man to take advantage of me. But I became weak when I was, after I was pregnant, after I was with my ex-husband. I let him pull on my heartstrings and to manipulate me into a way that he got certain evidence to make me look like I was dangerous, although I am not. I have gone to anger management voluntarily, so I know. I smoke way too much weed to give a fuck. I'm sorry, to care, okay? I really just don't care because something wanted me dead. Do you realize the repercussions of those thoughts? The actions that you took toward me growing up because of your Envy, mother? You were envious of your daughters because they got all of daddy's attention? I told you that. I told you that when I stayed with you. But I said it in a loving way. I wanted you to recognize and open your eyes and actually apologize for what you had done. That's what my sister wanted. My sister wanted to hear that day you came drunk and you were sloshing around in the tub this last, what day? For August? Sometime this last August? 2020? When I stayed with you and you got all drunk and you asked me, what's wrong with my life? Why does everything always bad all the time? And then you came in and started, aside from always picking on your face because that's nervous anxiety, and that's like when my ex-husband would sit there and pick and bite his fingers and stuff, either that was former drug abuse, which I'm assuming it probably was, or it was just like nervous anxiety from psychological, something's wrong psychologically if you keep continuing to do these strange habits. It's true. I don't actually have any addictions. Even smoking the medicinal marijuana, that is non-addictive. People have argued with me throughout the years that that is my proper form of medication. And I explained to them, I know some of the chemistry behind the things that I put in my body. I understood that drinking water was going to hydrate you rather than drinking soda. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words when I get flustered. So people, when they would interact with me, when I would be in bouts of, anguish, when I was like in bouts of stress or panic attacks, officers had tried talking to me and, medics tried to talk to me and stuff, and I couldn't respond. Or the things that were coming out of my mouth were just sounded delusional because all the things I wanted to say, how I wanted to portray myself, I couldn't do it. When you're under so much stress, the chemistry in your body changes. So you'll have differences in like the dopamine levels in your brain. And I wasn't producing enough serotonin to turn it into the dopamine so that I could be happy on my own, and I stopped using a lot of like aluminum-based deodorants because those metallics they get into your system and it alters your chemistry, the biology of your body, and it will make you unstable. And I always thought it was funny, bebopping around and just like, oh yeah, these are my cool brothers, or these are, whatever. No, it's not cool when your older brother starts molesting you. When you wake up with his mouth where it doesn't belong, where his fingers where they don't belong, digging through your underwear drawer, catching him touching your dirty underwear. That's just weird. And him sitting on the couch one day, this is a good story. This one's good. He whipped it out and was sitting there, stroking it. And I was laughing because I was like, holy shit, this is actually, what the fuck is he doing? Sorry, what is he doing over there? Chilling on the couch. He said he just had some Coke. And he wanted to know if I wanted to come over and touch it. My older brother, gentlemen. Why they need to own up to what had happened. Because otherwise it causes more cycling in your children and their children. It's just a continual cycle of abuse. And I wanted to break that for my own child. So I decided when I was fighting with her dad, and he wanted a divorce and all that, I trusted him. He promised me he would never do anything to hurt me. And that was a lie. So they're all liars though. Men are like that. And I'll delve into that in other videos too, of every detail of like the interactions that I've had with people that are haunting. That literally, that's why I have all this post-traumatic stress, and people wonder why I don't want to work, why I don't want to like deal with things, why I do things just, here and there. I take my time now because I did not have time when I was a child. I was literally taking care of my family. Even like during the time that my sister was around, she was the one doing a lot of the chores. But when I got a certain age, 5 or 6 or something, I remember I was washing dishes. I was doing chores to help out. I had for any type of like monetary gain, or I'm not seeking that. Never was I seeking that. Never. I mean, there was a time where I was like, okay, you've got to make enough to sustain yourself. You got to make enough to sustain this kid too. But legally, she's not mine on paper, so I can't actually he can't take me to court for trying to steal more money from me. I already gave birth to that kid. I breastfed that kid for 13 months. Taught her baby sign language, organic diet, was there every day, spanked that kid one time when my ex-husband got aggressive with me and I slapped her. I know for a fact that I am a way better mom than a lot of the fucking people I see around here and the people that have dealt with me personally. Like, I tell everybody, I sustained a lot of abuse growing up. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me emotionally. My ex-husband, we were together for approximately 5.5 years that we were involved in each other's lives. And now it's been 4.5 years since I've been kept from my child. Because they say I'm mentally unstable. I only hit you in the head with a frying pan because you were having intercourse with me while I was sleeping and did not consent to it. I would say that's rape, but I didn't really tell anybody about that. Instead, I hit you in the head with a frying pan because I thought we could take care of things in the home, whereas I should have told the authorities. I should have told the authorities about your abuse. The sexual abuse, the psychological abuse, the way you made me look to the courts. Yeah. And a lot of times when officers show up, they're like, well, who looks the craziest, right? Who's the one acting out? When you have so much adrenaline pumping through you and you speak very fast like I do, you get looked at. And especially if you've got crazy, fluffy, curly hair, you get looked like, you looked at like you're insane, but you're just trying to get your point across. And you have post-traumatic stress and anxiety. And I would do very nice, loving things, acts of, kindness and this and that, gifts. I know how good I was to those people. And they repaid me in this way. I told his grandmother one day, when I was messed up on a bunch of hydrocodone from the dentist because I just had all 4 of my wisdom teeth taken out that day, I told his grandmother I felt like they didn't love me enough. She took it the wrong way, of course. She doesn't really know how to read very well. I didn't realize how ignorant my ex-husband's family actually was. He had tried to portray them in a better light than they actually were. He painted them, he painted himself as something he was not. He told me he liked certain things. He wasn't into that, He manipulated me in the situation from the very beginning because he moved in with me right away. I should have known better than to try to take care of someone. I always did that. I knew that I had gone through so much suffering, I wanted to help someone else. Not anymore. Of course, I know to take care of myself first. Always take care of yourself first. So, back to the story. Me to make up anything of this. This is my truth. I know it from the doctor's records. There are proof here and there everywhere. If you want documentation, I can pinpoint every single thing. You may have thought, and I try to avoid it, like people think I'm crazy. And I'm like, I just have post-traumatic stress and I just need weed sometimes. Believe me, I'm good. I can tell you what happened. All right, back to the story. So this day, because it was on their property. Remember that. It was on their property. So the sippy cup fiasco. Holding the sippy cups. She doesn't want to let go. And I'm like, just give me my sippy cup so I can get the H out of here, so I can, gather or whatever. I let go. This granny stumbles back on the step, falls flat on her A. Everyone thinks I pushed her. She said I pushed her. I didn't. The grandfather saw that. So he tried to punch me in the face. Yeah, an old man tried to punch me in the face. But fortunately, he was like that far, and all I felt was like the brush of the breeze slapping me in the face. His mother came over from across the street because these people live literally across the street from one another. That's how southern this is. And